Excellent. And we are back. We're back live once again for those in attendance. There's about 4 people on the computer right now. If you'd be so kind to leave a comment in the chat, that would be absolutely wonderful if you would do so. For the sake of attendance and whatnot, we'll figure that out as we go along. First things first. I had originally intended to post a homework for you guys. I had originally intended to post that homework last Friday, but I ran out of time. Stuff going on. Long story short, I wasn't able to post that homework until Monday. Now, my intention was to be like, okay, I'll post it on Friday. It'll be due Wednesday, which is today. But since I posted it on Monday, and since I was late to posting it, I made that homework due on Friday. So please make sure that you're aware of that. A couple of you have already turned it in from what I can see. Yeah, there they are. Cool. But make sure that you are jumping on that homework, following the directions for that thing. That'd be fantastic. That is due on Friday. Now, those problems that are on the homework are going to be a mix of everything that we've been doing up to this point in this chapter, multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting, things of that nature. My ultimate goal for today is to focus solely on adding and subtracting these problems and getting practice with that. I have something ready to go, locked and loaded, a PDF that I'm going to send you guys, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I'm going to have that sent to you guys and you'll be able to work on that. Cool. So, you guys were sent this, I believe. I enlarged the copy. It's black and white, but I believe that you guys were sent this. I'm showing the live chat right now. I hope you were sent this. This is schedule for next week, the bell schedule. Okay. Hesitantly nodding yes. So hopefully you guys know how the bell schedule is going to work next week. It is going to be a fun time. Basically, first period ends up, well, you don't have regular homeroom. You have homeroom in your first period like normal. And then you have class and then blah, 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 blah. And then they have passing time. It's like a 4-minute passing time. Then you have block 2, and then a passing time. But then that passing time after block 2 is like 6 minutes. And then there's a 40-minute lunch.
Oh, you started? Like, still doing that paper bag one? Like, that every day, or are they having, like, actual one?
That I have no clue. After second period, you're going to have lunch. I don't know what form it's going to take. I don't know if it's going to be like, hey, bring your lunch. I don't know if it's going to be paper bag lunch. I don't know if it's going to be go down to the cafeteria and get your lunch. I have absolutely no idea. But what I do know is that when you guys have that 40-minute lunch, it's not that you'll be able to eat lunch wherever the heck you want. I think what they explained to us was that you would be able to eat lunch in certain designated locations. I think like what is that area with the grass, with the koi pond? Just outside? Yeah. Eat lunch there. They set up, I don't know if you saw them, they set up picnic tables in the courtyard out here. Yeah. They set a bunch of picnic tables there. I don't know where else they're going to have you guys going, but basically the entire school is going to be eating lunch at the same time. Yeah, I know. Isn't that great? That's above my pay grade. But they will have you spread out throughout the building, I think is the idea. I know, I'm shaking my head too. But a common lunch period, think about it, before COVID. A common lunch period is actually what our old principal really wanted to do. He really wanted to do a common lunch period where kids could just kind of eat wherever. If they wanted to meet, if teachers allowed them to meet with them, they could. If they wanted to go like eat like in the courtyard, they could. If they, just stuff like that, just have a bit more freedom. And there'd be garbage cans placed throughout, and they just make sure they take care of themselves, instead of all being lumped in the cafeteria and being stuck there for the majority. Because how long does it take you guys to eat your lunch? Really? Like 15 minutes? Something like that? And you just sit there doing nothing. And you're stuck in that cafeteria. But now it's like you can kind of just, go. But now we're in COVID. I don't know exactly what form it's going to take. But it's going to be a giant common lunch period. Then a 4-minute passing time. And then you guys come to third period, which is us. No, that's not what I said.
Wait, you said giant
Common lunch period, not common lunch location. Yes, that's the key distinction there. The location is going to be spread throughout the school.
I was gonna say there's no way they're allowed to tag everyone.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Even if they split the school up normally, like a third, still, even with half the school being virtual, still, it's like you don't.
A lot of people are gonna come back.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, he's back. Anyway, but my point being, though, it's gonna be an adjustment. But thankfully, you're gonna come to my class period having just eaten. So yay.
That means we'll be tired.
Maybe eating turkey for lunch. Tryptophan.
Eating our mystery meat.
Oh, I don't know. They serve that? Anyway, but yeah, then they'll have that 60-minute and then 23-minute intervention period. We're going to figure that junk out, and then passing time, then you go to fourth period. And then you'd be done at 1:50. Oh, what a day. But then I heard, again, I got to confirm this, but Wednesday is still going to be like a half day? Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how, like, I'm hearing, like, just as much information as you guys,
It's next week. And how much information is.
Yep. Maybe I should start reading my emails. I don't know. But even still, it's going to be fun time. So for those of you that are online, this is directed specifically to you. And I'm warning you just because other teachers should be doing it as well. You need to pay attention to the bell schedule. You need to pay attention to the new bell schedule. I believe this was sent to you. Again, you need to pay attention to that because, yes, I'll still be throwing my reminders into Google Classroom. Hey, I'm going live at this time. But you just need to pay attention to that bell schedule, especially on Wednesdays. Well, for you guys, you'll be in school. But if you have my class on a Wednesday, that bell schedule is going to revert back to what we do today, I believe. Question mark, I hope. I don't know, we'll see. Yay, fun times. Anyway. So that homework is one thing. The bell schedule is another thing. Let's get started with today. What I'm going to ask all of you in this room to do, I'm going to ask for you to have two things out. I'm going to ask for those notebooks to be out and open. And I'm going to ask for those Chromebooks to be out so that you can see the questions that I am going to be giving you in that PDF file. For those of you that are in the Google or in the live stream right now, I am going to be posting a PDF to the Google Classroom stream, and you'll be able to see the questions in a moment. Let's post that sucker now. There it is. It should be in your Google Classroom stream. I'm opening this thing up. Lumen PDF. What's up? A couple of reminders. Number one, I had posted a homework on Monday. It's not due till Friday. Number two, the new bell schedule for next week is going to be hilarious. Because I have you guys on, when do I have you guys? Tuesday?
Well, I don't know if it's like Tuesday.
I think Tuesday. The AB remains the same.
Oh, okay.
I think. But I have you guys on Tuesday, so you'll at least have gone through the bell schedule at least once. So, yay. Yeah. Anyway, that'll be fun. And I'm telling you guys to have the notebooks out and the Chromebooks out, Chromebooks specifically so that you can see the problems on this PDF. Cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is what I would like to do. I would like to give you an opportunity to try some of these problems on your own. I would like to go over a couple of these problems with you in detail that I am going to be putting into my notebook. There we go. I'm going to be putting it into my notebook. But then I am going to be giving you guys a small block of time to try some of these problems on your own. Then I would like to review said problems to kind of see where we're at with our ability levels and whatnot. So I'm going to pick two specific problems. I am going to pick numbers 2 and 3. Yes, I'm going to pick numbers 2 and 3. I'm going to go over numbers 2 and 3 with you in great detail in my notebook. Obviously, I would like you to write them down in your notebook. And then I'm going to assign you some problems, maybe 3 or so problems, to give a shot on your own, to try to the best of your ability, to try and simplify these things down. The reason why you have your Chromebooks open is so that you don't have to squint at the problems that are on this PDF right now. You can see them directly on your computer screen, and you can zoom in at your own leisure. So I'm going to go to my notebook. I've already asked for those notebooks to be out and open. Let's see what we can do here. Flip this to here. Today is the 21st. And we're going to call this add, subtract, rationals, practice. Boom. We are gearing up. We are gearing up for an assessment, minor assessment on this material. I will talk more about that on Friday, as I will be assigning it, obviously, through Google Classroom, but I'll talk more about that on Friday. But we need to get on top of this information. You know what I'm going to miss? I don't know if you guys remember this, because it hasn't been done, obviously, for a couple of years. But do you remember, like, when the school would have, like, or not the school, but, like, they would have, like, bring your kid to work day and stuff like that? We haven't, obviously, the school hasn't done it for, like, 2 years. But, yeah, last year we couldn't do it. Yeah. I'm so sad for you that you don't get to see my son, because my son, when the last time he came in, it was so funny seeing him, like, act like the teacher. He was 5 the last time he came in. Now he's 7. I don't know. I was just thinking about it today because he just turned 7 today. It's just, yeah, he turned 7 today. He's at school right now, but yeah. Yeah, dude, elementary school on your birthday? You kidding me? He would not miss it for the world. Whew. Little ice cream cups with the wooden spoon. You know what I'm talking about? Heck yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, but I'm sorry that you get to miss that, though, because my son, he would be fun when he came in. One time I was teaching AP Stat on a Bring Your Kid to Work day. I was teaching my AP Stat class, and he was bored out of his mind because I needed to work with these kids. It's April. We need to get moving with AP Stat. And he's just kind of sitting there not knowing what to do. And what do one of the seniors, this is 2 years ago, one of the seniors pulls out of his backpack a Nintendo Switch, hands it to my son, and my son's like, oh yeah, and he's playing Mario Kart the rest of the period. It was great. Anyway, back to this. The problem that I would like to work on first is number 2. So let's see. 3 over 8x minus 3x. Flip. There's the problem right there, number 2. Now, people have had really interesting questions and suggestions as to how to handle a problem like this. They see the 3x and the 8x, and they're like, okay, they both have an x in common, I guess. Yeah, they do both have an x in common, but let's think about what we're trying to do here. The operation between the two of them is subtraction. We are adding and subtracting fractions, meaning I need a common denominator. I need a common denominator. Ugh. Somebody yesterday actually suggested, oh, Ms. Maranky, just do the reciprocal to 3x. Just do the reciprocal. You can't just do the reciprocal without any justification behind it. And he's like, why not? I'm like, well, usually you would do a reciprocal or something along those lines if you were maybe simplifying exponents, or if you were potentially solving an equation and you needed to get an exponent to be negative to become positive. But no, just randomly taking a reciprocal, there's no justification behind that. You need common denominators. The denominator on this 3x is a 1. the denominator on that 3x is a 1. And since it is a 1, that is what we have to focus on. We are comparing the two denominators against each other. One of them is a 1, and the other one is an 8x. What you've been taught in the past is you need to multiply the fraction by something in order to force common denominators. I'm getting this marker right here so I can write on my page. Here we go. For this problem, because the denominator is 1, it's actually a nice little transition here. I'm actually going to multiply that fraction by 8x over 8x. The general idea being that I'm not changing the value of that fraction. I'm not changing the value because I'm multiplying technically by 1. But I am changing the way that it looks. That is the important aspect. Let me try to get the chat open on my phone here. So when I bring this thing down, it becomes 3 over 8x minus, well, the denominator is now 8x. I'll fix that numerator in a moment. 1 times 8x gives me that 8x. I get that common denominator, and that's exactly what I need. Once I have that common denominator, boom, fantastic. But if you notice, I left the top blank. I left it blank temporarily. I'll fix it up in a moment. I'm going to have to multiply these things. I should be getting 24x squared. Once you have that common denominator, you can bring the fractions together into a single fraction where the denominator is just, in this case, 8x. But then ultimately, you're going to have to attempt to simplify the numerator. And the only thing I can do to simplify the numerator right here, well, they're not like terms. And if they're not like terms, this is all that I can do to the problem. That's all I can do. Not every problem is created equal. What you need to ask yourself is, what is the denominator missing? Is there a way that I can multiply something by the denominators in order to force them to be the same thing? In this case, it was just a 1, so I was like, oh, that's easy. Yeah, cool. Multiply 8x over 8x. That forces the denominators to be the same. Then I can clean up the numerator. That's your objective. Figure out a common denominator. Multiply to force it. Clean up the numerator. Let's try number 3. Because like I said, I am going to give you an opportunity to try some of these problems on your own for a short block of time. But first, let's talk about number 3. Let's see. Now, obviously, you have the PDF in front of you. But I'm writing it down right now. Now, I'm going to change one thing. I'm going to change one thing about this problem. So please do not write it down precisely as the PDF says. Instead, write down what I have for number 3. Look at the change that I made. I really don't know why. When I generated this worksheet, I picked the problems out, but I didn't notice that for some reason on number 3, and I could zoom in on this one. There we go. For some reason on number 3, they decided to leave it as 3 over 6. And I'm like, why would you leave it as 3 over 6? Just make it a 1 over 2. Gosh. But yeah, that's what the problem said. Make it a 1 over 2. Now, this is going to be the tricky part. The tricky part, again, figuring out those common denominators. Here's what I need you to think. Here's what I need you to put into your heads. You need to think of the 2n plus 3 as a single term. You need to think of the 2n plus 3 as a single term. A huge mistake that people make, is they try to break up that 2n plus 3. And they're like, Ms. Markey, I got this. Clearly, they both have a 2 in common. There's a 2 right there, and there's a 2 right there. No. The first fraction has a 2n plus 3. The second fraction doesn't have a 2n plus 3. Treat the 2n plus 3 as a single term. This second fraction has a 2. This first fraction does not have a 2 as a factor in the denominator. Each denominator is separate. Each denominator is unique. This, what I'm about to show you, is what we have to do. I'm going to write it, and then I'm going to explain it. There we go. This is what you have to do to this problem. This is what you have to do to number 3. First of all, once again, I'm not changing the value of each fraction. I'm just changing the way they look. I'm changing the way they look by multiplying technically by 1. The first fraction did not have 2 as a factor. It was missing a 2. And since it was missing that 2, I multiplied it by 2 over 2 in order to give it a 2. That second fraction was missing a 2n plus 3. So I multiplied by 2n plus 3 over 2n plus 3 in order to give it a 2n plus 3. I am forcing each denominator to be exactly the same. In the end, when I bring them together, watch what's going to happen. The brand new denominator is just going to be 2 times 2n plus 3. Now, let me write something out real quick. So that you can kind of see what the heck I am talking about here. I wrote these in different colors so that you could see it a bit clearer. I wrote these in different colors so that you could see it a bit clearer as to what the heck is going on from one step to the next. I forced the common denominators, and I was able to bring them together to have this common denominator. That's set in stone for the time being. But look at the numerator. Again, I wrote them out in different colors so that you could see what's happening. I still have to simplify stuff. I still have to distribute junk in order to make this right. But it was n minus 2 times this red 2. It was, well, technically minus 1. I brought those down, minus 1, times the 2n plus 3. This is the process that you would have to go through. I can leave that denominator, but I'm going to have to do this. This 2 needs to be distributed, and it's not just a 1. It's a negative 1. A negative 1 that needs to be distributed. If I do that first distribution, I get 2n minus 4. If I do that second distribution, I get minus 2n minus 3. Notice what happens to the denominator, nothing. The denominator does not change. I'm still trying to simplify this junk. I need to clean up the numerator. And ultimately, once I clean up that numerator, I'll zoom in on this. There we go. What I have at the bottom of the page, that is my final simplified answer. Something that somebody asked me yesterday, I thought was very insightful, incredibly insightful. They asked me a simple question. They said, Mr. Markey, do you think that this is the most difficult stuff we've learned all year? And I said, yes and no. Yes, because it technically puts everything together that we've been taught in the past. No, because, well, technically you've already been taught how to do all these things. It's just that we're putting them all together. Hey, question. What grade were you in when you, like, legit, like, again, I don't know if you can remember that far back, but when you first learned to add and subtract fractions together? Like 1/2 plus 2/3. I may have asked this in the past, but do you remember approximately what grade level this was? Late elementary? It's like, and the thing is, it's like, what happens to a kid? I'm not saying this is you, but like, what happens to a kid who they get taught that in 4th or 5th grade? They don't really get it. It doesn't really click. And then they move on to other grade levels. You know what I'm saying? And then they get to high school and they're like, oh crap, I never really learned how to do that. Like, that is painful because it's like elementary school, they just kind of like push you along. Like, yep, move on to 5th, yep, move on to 6th grade. Yep, move up, keep moving up. Without actually having, not mastered, but like, gone over it, I've gotten good at it, you know? And then you get to high school, and then it's like, yeah, we assume you already know all this stuff. Ugh. Somehow, I have to teach you all of the algebra, and I have to teach you all of the elementary school stuff. I don't know. The other crazy thing is you guys like all have like different elementary school experiences. Like some of you moved in from out of town. Some of you went to Collins. Some of you went to Horbelt. Some of you went to Donahue. Some went to Dumpy. Right?
Yeah, now it's like, is it sectioned off by grade now?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I grew up in Barnegat. I like that idea. I like that idea of redistricting. It's just my opinion. Obviously, I know there's a controversial thing within Barnegat itself. If you've ever gone to any of the parental meetings. Crazy. But I like it. My sister went to Dumpy, and then they redrew the district lines, and then I went to Collins. How is that possible? My sister and me, same household, different elementary schools. We didn't move. Goodness. Lived in Settlers. Back to this. Here's what I want to do. I want to give you an opportunity to get some of these problems done. I'm going to write the problem numbers that I want you to get done on the board. And I'm going to give you a small hint on this one in particular. But I want you to get done numbers 1, 4, and 6. I want you to get done numbers 1, 4, and 6. You have the PDF in your Google Classroom stream. So you don't have to worry about seeing the problem on the board. You have the PDF in front of you. But I'm going to give you one hint on number 6. I'm going to give you one hint on number 6. There is the hint. You can actually factor the denominator by taking out a greatest common factor. And then, after you have factored, you can visibly see that both fractions already have a 3m in common. They already have a 3m in common, meaning there only needs to be a multiplication to the second fraction. That second fraction is the only thing that's actually missing anything. So I want to give you approximately, hold on, announcement. I want to give you approximately the next 5 to 10 minutes. Again, I give you a range because I reserve the right to reduce that time or extend it if need be. But I want to give you approximately the next 5 to 10 minutes to try those 3 problems. Number 1, number 4, number 6. Give them a shot, see what you can do with them, and then we can review them in a little bit. Go. Okay. Let's see what we got. I just wrote down all 3 questions on separate sheets of paper, just so I don't have to keep flipping back and forth. Let me just double check once, so I don't have to double check 1,000 times. I'd rather just get this all written down correctly on the first try. Good. Okay. So they're all written down correctly. This first one. Clearly, they do not have the same denominator. But they both have some things that you could work with. For example, they both have a v already in common. You don't have to worry about that v. Oh, it's got to focus. There it goes. You don't have to worry about that v since they both have that v in common. But the first fraction has this u, whereas the second one doesn't. And the first one has this 3, which the second one doesn't. In fact, with the 3 and 5, you could go back to your elementary school common denominator skills, and you could figure out the least common multiple between 3 and 5, which in this case is 15. We need to get both of these denominators to look like a 15 with some letters mixed in. We'll deal with those letters in a moment. So this is what I would have to focus on to start. First, I would like both of these fractions to look like a 15. So I am going to multiply that first fraction by 5 over 5. However, in this second fraction, I'm actually going to multiply like this. The reason being, first of all, I can get it to be 15 by multiplying by 3, and I got 3 over 3. Cool. But I also noticed, as I mentioned earlier, that that second fraction, the second fraction, did not have a u in the denominator. It was missing a u. It was missing that component that would force a common denominator. In the end, my common denominator is going to look like that, 15 uv. Your first job is to find a common denominator. Then after you multiply to force the common denominators, your next job is to clean up the numerator. Here's one thing you need to know, something that I guarantee you, several of you, just like several people yesterday, tripped up on. Look at this right here. You need to believe that there are parentheses around that numerator, u plus v. And as a result of there being parentheses around that u plus v, you have to realize that that 5 is being distributed. When that multiplication takes place, you're going to get 5u plus 5v. And then on the right side, multiplying them together, minus 6u. I still have to clean some junk up, but that's what's going to happen after all of this multiplication takes place, because I'm cleaning up the numerators. In the end, combining like terms, I can write my final answer like this. One might ask, Mr. Markey, can't you just cancel out those v's? No, I can't cancel out those v's because that 5v is being separated by a plus sign. Mr. Markey, can't 5 over 15? Doesn't 5 over 15 reduce? Well, technically 5 over 15 reduces, but not in this case because of the plus sign. You can only simplify stuff like that if there is only multiplication or division separating the terms. You could also write your answer like this. This is another way of writing the answer. It's perfectly acceptable. Perfectly acceptable. You could flip those around. The U still stays negative and the 5V stays positive. But it's the same concept. That 5V still can't simplify because of the minus sign. But that's just another way of writing it. Either way is perfectly acceptable. Okay. Number 4. Now, number 4 has all of these K's floating around, but here's the first thing. If you did not do what I am about to do, you need to do it. If you did not do that, you need to do it. You need to believe. You need to consider the K plus 4 as a single term. You need to consider the 3K plus 5 as a single term. Yes, they both have a K in common, but that doesn't matter because here's what's going to have to happen with the multiplication. Here's what's going to have to happen. Holy crap. I'm going to go on a monologue after I write this out. And my hope is that seeing these in different colors will make the rationale of these steps stand out. First of all, this first fraction didn't have a 3K plus 5. So I forced it by giving it a 3K plus 5. I forced it by multiplying that denominator by 3K plus 5. And, of course, multiplying the numerator as well. Forcing that common denominator. The second fraction did not have a K plus 4. So I forced it by giving it a K plus 4. Multiplying by 1, technically. Everything within parentheses would be your best option. You have to force common denominators. In the next unit, or not unit, in the next section of the chapter, this skill will come into play when we are graphing. You are going to be utilizing technology, Desmos, calculators to graph a lot of the stuff for you, but your job is to be able to identify certain aspects of that graph using the equation. And you're going to have to combine multiple fractions in order to get to that point. Now, I'm not nearly done yet, but let me show you what that brand new denominator is, because technically I am done with the denominator. The denominator is done. The denominator has been found. The denominator is K plus 4 times 3K plus 5. You are not required to multiply them together. You can leave them separated just like that. That is acceptable. Perfectly acceptable. My only job now is to clean up the numerator. I need to clean up the numerator. And the way that I am going to clean up the numerator is like this. I'm going to distribute that 2K. And I'm going to distribute, listen very carefully. Listen very carefully. I'm not distributing a 3. I am distributing a negative 3. I am distributing a negative 3 because of this minus sign. This will become 6k squared plus 10k minus 3k minus 12. Again, I still just have to clean up the numerator. And this is what I get. There are technically extra steps that could be taken on other problems, but this is sufficient for this problem. This is absolutely sufficient. In future problems, you may be able to factor this farther, but not on this problem. This problem, you can't get that done. But again, it's the same thing. Identify what is missing, force the multiplication, clean up the numerator. That's what this comes. That's the process for every single one of these problems. Last problem, number 6. I already have it written down right here. And not only do I have it written down right here, but I have factored the denominator by taking out the greatest common factor. Each fraction already has a 3m. It's only the second fraction that is missing a term. It's missing an m minus 3. That's all that it was missing. And once I force that common denominator, my brand new denominator will just look like this. Because I have forced a common denominator between the two fractions. At this point, the only thing left to do is to clean up the numerator. Keeping in mind that you are going to have to distribute that 5. And it is a positive 5 that you're distributing, so no worries there. 2m minus 3 plus 5m minus 15. The denominator stays the same. And I get 7m minus 18. That's all I can do to the problem. There's nothing else I can conceivably do to this problem. There's nothing else that can factor out. There's nothing else that can be simplified. I leave it as is. It's a weird problem, but I love it. The homework, which I know, again, a couple of you have already done. That's fantastic. But the homework, I need you to make sure that you are showing me that work. I'm just reading over the directions again. I said I had meant to assign this homework sooner, so I'll make the due date a period later. It will be due Friday the 23rd. Reminder, since this is a homework, it's graded on completion, meaning show me the necessary work. Show me the necessary work to get the answer. It's only, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's only 8 questions. But you need to show me the necessary work to get that answer. Make sure that you are doing so. Make sure that you have that work shown so that I can make the corrections if need be. I want you to be able to be on top of this information. I want you to be able to do this on your own on paper. We need to get these skills down. I will see you again on Friday. Yes, on Friday. On Friday, I am going to be talking about an assessment that I am going to be assigning you. Because as I said, we're gearing up for an assessment. And then afterwards, well, hold on one second, announcement.
Can I have your attention, please? Any sophomores or juniors that would like to buy a school break? We have paperwork located on the table in the main lobby outside the main office if you'd like to pick them up. Thank you.
Okay. After the said assessment, we are going to be heading into the second half of this chapter, which includes graphing and solving equations. It's going to be phenomenal, mainly for me once again. And I do have a mini project of sorts, but I'll talk about that mini project in a future class period. Anyway, if you have not left a comment in the chat, please make sure that you do so. We have about 2 minutes left in this class period. So I will leave it open temporarily for like an additional 30 seconds or so. If you have not already left a comment in the chat, so, which I'm sure people have already done. Anyway, we'll get this thing done. All right, there we go. That was over 30 seconds. End that stream.